Our main focus today is on section C. We're going to be looking at section C. This video will cover question 5, business environment, which is looking at the legislation. And then question 6, which is business operation or human resource function, will be covered on a separate video. In this question, the candidates were required to choose one of the two. Depending on which question the candidate felt confident on, then the candidates were supposed to select that question. For you, in your upcoming exam or test, you need to ensure that you choose the question that you feel more confident and comfortable on. Do not answer both questions because only one question will be marked. Do not try to take chance and waste the most valuable time in the exam by trying to answer both questions when you know exactly that the markers will only mark the first question. As I've already said, our main focus will be on question 5, which is business environment legislation. So we're going to be looking at the legislation part in this video, and then on the other one, we're going to look at the business operation. Let's just read what we have with us and what we need to do. The basic aim of the Skills Development Act, or SDA, of 1998, Act 97 of 1998, is to expand on the knowledge and competences of the labor force. SETAs are established to facilitate the implementation of the SDA. Businesses are expected to oblige with the Act and be fully conversant with its requirements. We are required, or the candidate was required, to write an essay on the Skills Development Act in which you include the following aspect. Outline the role of the SETAs in supporting the Skill Development Act. What are the 21 SETAs in South Africa are supposed to be doing in order to support the Act? Explain the purpose of the Skills Development Act. Why do we have Skill Development Act in South Africa? Why it was formed? Obviously, in order to be able to service all industry and be competitive as a country, the Skills Development Act was necessary in the late 90s in order for South Africa to compete on international level. Discuss the impact of the Skills Development Act on business. When we're looking at the impact, it's either a positive impact or a negative impact. Are you looking at advantages or disadvantage? Because you are asked about impact, and this is not saying discuss the negative impact or discuss the positive impact. However, it says discuss the impact. So how you would approach the question like this, it either you focus on the negative impact or you focus on the positive impact. If you like, you can divide. You can have positive and negative, and few points for positive and few points for negative impact. And then the fourth point, you need to make a recommendation in terms of the ways the business can comply with the Act. So you have 4 points that you need to address in your body. Now the question still stands. How do you write an essay? An essay needs to be broken down into 3. You have your introduction, where you attract the reader. You have the body, where you expand on your introduction. And you have your conclusion, where you summarize what you had in the body. So now how will your introduction look like? Your introduction will be you just discussing one point for each of the item that you're going to be talking about in the body. You're not going in depth. You're just saying the things that you believe will attract the reader. Then when you go to your body, you then expand on those 4 points. In your conclusion, you're just summarizing in 2 lines or 3 lines what you've already discussed in your body. So that's how then your essay needs to look like. In your introduction, you address the reader. In your body, you spend time you talk about the points that you're required. Then in the conclusion, you're concluding on your points. Now let's look at the marking card together and see what do we have in the marking card. As we look in the marking guide, I will tell you more details in terms of why did we have that point in the solution, or why did we have that point in the marking guide. Let us now look at the marking guide. If you see from the top, mark the answer for the first question only, which is why I had stated at the beginning that you need to focus on one question. Don't try to act smart and answer both questions with the hope that you'll be marked on both questions and then you get more marks. It's not going to happen like that. The markers will choose the first question and then they will mark only that question that has been answered. Now, let us see what we have in this essay. So it was business environment legislation that we are going to be focusing on, and that's what we have selected. For this video, for the purpose of this video, we are looking at the business environment, the legislation. As I've already stated, the first part will be your introduction. So in the introduction, let us see what we have. A SETA is a vocational skills training organization that identifies skills shortage that are needed in different industries. In South Africa, we have 21 SETAs. Each industry or each type of qualification has its own SETA that it falls under. So it is a vocational skills training organization. So it identifies the skills in each sector that are required for the country to remain competitive. So you see here, you're just explaining what is it that is a SETA, and you know it's going to be part of your body. But you're not going in depth, you're just explaining what is SETA. The Skills Development Act was introduced to redress the imbalance of the past. Right. So now you also just touching on Skills Development Act, why it was introduced. It was introduced so that we have people from different cultures in the different sectors, different background, different race in the sector, in each sector. What does that mean? It means that we're going to have accountants that are black, accountants that are white, accountants that are Indian colored. Not only certain race is in the industry. Same with engineering. So the Skill Development Acts train people from different background to participate in the industry, which in the past were only for certain race. The SDA enables South Africans to gain access to skill training opportunity and have long-term benefit. So all South Africans benefit from being trained in the industries they want to be trained in for their long-term benefit. Obviously, when you're trained for the benefits, not only on looking at the short term, but we're looking at the long term, how you're going to benefit in the long term. Businesses that comply with the SDA are able to create good public image and address skills shortage in South Africa or in South African workplace. So now you see, you're also touching the compliance part. Why is it important for the business to comply? And those were part of the things that were things that you need to address in point form when we're looking at the required. Then any other relevant introduction related to the SETAs in supporting the Skills Development Act and the purpose of SDA or the impact of SDA on the business ways in which business can comply will be considered. So you can see on your introduction, you'll get 2 points. So if I was writing this exam, or for the benefit or for the purpose of assisting or coaching you, I will just select 2 things. I will just bring what is SETA, bring what is Skills Development Act, and then go move to my body. In terms of compliance, I will just cover on my body. What I would have covered here, because you're going to get 2 points, I would have just talk about what is SITA and what is Skill Development Act, or what the purpose of Skill Development Act in just one point, because I'm still going to go broader on my body. Now we're done with introduction, and I'm done to inform you what I believe you would have done if you're writing this exam. Let us see what we have in the body. The first part, we're looking at the role of the SETAs in supporting the Skills Development Act. The report to the Director General. So the role of the SETAs is to report to the Director General in terms of the progress. So there is a Director General of all the SETAs, and all the SETAs, all the 21 SETAs in South Africa, they need to report to the Director General in terms of the progress in identifying the skill shortage in South Africa and what are the plans in place to address the shortage. Promote and establish leadership. Once they've identified that the shortage that we have in South Africa, it's electrical engineering. For example, they need to promote electrical engineering and establish the leadership for the electrical engineering. Collect levies and pay out grants as required. So what happens then? The cities, they collect levies. How are they collecting levies? If you're a trainee or you once went to any training program, there will be 1% of salary that will be taken more like UIF. So that 1% is matched by your employer with another 1%. That is paid over to the relevant SETA. So that is why they need to collect the revenue, or the levies rather. And they need to pay the grants when it's necessary. So when they pay grants when there is 1 year of completed learnership by the trainee. And on completion, they also have to pay further grants to the employer or the training officer. They provide accreditation for the skills development facilitators. So each and every training officers need to be given accreditation, and those accreditation will come from the relevant SETA of the training office. Register the learnership agreement and learning program. So if there is a learnership agreement between the training officer and the trainee, that should be registered under the relevant SETA. Approve workplace skills plans and annual training report. So the workplace which provide training need to have plans and the report that is submitted to SETA. SETA need to monitor and evaluate the actual training by service providers. Allocate grants to employers, education, training providers. Overseas trading in different sectors of South African economy. They develop sector skills plans in line with National Skills Development Strategy. So in the National Skills Strategy, they know exactly what is a required skill that we need in South Africa in order to compete on a national level. So now they need to develop a skills plan that is in line with the strategy. Draw up skills development plans for their specific economic sector. So now, since we have 21 SETA, each SETA, they need to draw up the development plans for their own sector. If they are in the finance sector, they need to have a development plan for that industry they are in. If it's finance, they need to focus on finance. If it's economics, they need to focus on economics, depending on the sector that they are in. Provide training materials or program for skills development facilitator. Pay out grant to businesses that are complying with the requirements. Just to summarize the roles of the SETAs, the report in terms of the progress and the program that they're planning to have to the Director General. They need to promote the leadership they believe is required in South Africa in order for us to remain competitive and be able to reach the goals of South Africa. They collect the levies, that 2% levy, which is 1% from the employer and 1% from the employee. And they also pay grants when the learnership is completed and the training office or training provider complies with the act. They provide accreditation to those training providers who are providing training. What they do as well, they draw up skills development plans that is in line with their sector. Then let us move and look at the second point that we needed to address. The second point was to address the purpose of the Skill Development Act. What is the purpose of this act? It's to develop the skills of South African people or South African residents in order to improve productivity. Invest in education and training of the South African workforce. Improve the chances of getting a job for previously disadvantaged people. Encourage workers to participate in learnership program. Redresses imbalances of the past through education and training. Encourage business to improve the skills of their workers and provide the systematic implementation of strategies on national sector in the workplace. So if you see here what is happening, the main purpose of the SETA is to develop the skills, is to ensure that the skills in the workplace are at a level that the productivity will improve. What does that mean? It means the worker that is working in the factory to make cars has proper skills, is trained properly so that they can produce cars as quick as possible. They made investment in the education to ensure that SA workforce is well equipped. They improve the chances of getting job. If you're well trained, the chances of you getting job and staying in that job will be high. And they're addressing the issues of the past, the imbalance of the past, where only certain individuals were trained. They are saying now we want all the individuals to be trained and be given opportunity to participate in the market with proper skills. Obviously, they have to have strategies in place and they need to provide systematic implementation of the strategies in terms of national level, what skills are required and when they're going to ensure that they train people for those skills. So that's the purpose, the summary of the purpose of the Skills Development Act. And then let's just look at the point number 3. When I was going through the scenario with you, I said, if we talk about impact, the impact has to be positive, can be positive or negative, and can be both. And I said to you, it's up to you to decide whether you want to talk both or you just want to say, I'm just going to focus on one. If you have sufficient points for positive, focus on positive. If you feel like you have points for both positive and negative, you can even create a tabular format to say there's a positive and there's a negative, or you list all of them like how they are listed. It is very, very important for you to decide how you're going to address the question. If I were you, I was going to have both positive as well as negative. I'll list few points for positive impact and few points for negative impact. Let us then see what we have. What are the positive impacts of this skill development acts in the business? And then we'll also cover the negative part. When you're looking at the positive part, it increased the number of skilled employees in areas where the skills are scarce. Train employees to improve productivity in the workplace. Business could become globally and more competitive. Ongoing skills development, learning, acquisition of the new skills are encouraged to sustain the improvement of the skills development. Increase investment in education and training in the labor market. Increase the return on investment in education and training. Improve employment opportunity and labor movement. Self-employment and entrepreneurship are promoted. Workplace discrimination can be addressed through training. Workplace is used as an active learning environment where employees can gain practical job training. Business may claim back some of the cost of the training as a refund from the relevant sector. Improve quality of product service delivery as the business employ more skilled workforce. Let us summarize what is said here so that you can remember if you are in the exam what each of this mean to you. If you're saying it increase number of skilled employee, what does that mean? Because Skill Development Act requires the employee to be trained. It means we're going to have more skilled, or the business will have more skilled employees because there is training that is done on those employees. The more you are trained about particular expert of the industry you are in, the more you become skilled and more equipped. Trained employees, I've already said, and is obviously if employees know what they're doing, they will be improved in productivity. It encourage, or there will be ongoing skills development because the company is engaged on complying with SDA. Increase investment in education. Self-employment. Why there will be self-employment? Because people have skills that are appropriate for them that they can go and work by themselves, which will boost the economy because that revenue will pay tax subsequently, and that helps to boost the revenue. So the workplace become an active environment to teach people to know work and be able to open their business. Improved quality and product or service delivery. What does that mean? If the employees know what they're doing because they are trained, the products they're going to produce is going to be of high quality, and the service they're going to deliver to the public is going to be of high quality. And overall, the reputation of the business will be so good, so great. So when we look at an overall level in terms of the benefit of this SDA on a business expert, most of the things that you see is that they're going to be improved revenue for the business because they're going to be producing high quality products and service. Happy workforce. People will be happy that they are trained in what they're doing. And the reputation of the company that is complying with SDA is also going to be good. Let us look at the negative point. The SDA process is prescriptive or requires large amount of paperwork, administration, and that costs time and money. So what does that mean? This more paperwork, it means two things for the business. If they don't have employee to work on this admin that comes with compliance with SDA, they need to employ new employee. That will mean more money that needs to be paid to that new admin. If they decide not to employ a new employee and they use the current employee that they have in the business, what's going to happen? Now, will simple mean because they're using the employee they have, that employee is not going to be working on the day-to-day job. Now, it means it needs to allocate the time to the admin of SDA. That will cost time for other things that the employee is currently doing. Skill development levy could be an extra burden and in a financial struggling business. It is an extra burden, as I've already discussed from the top, because now we need to employ new people, we need to buy papers, we need to buy machine. A number of things need to be bought in order to ensure that we are able to do the admin that comes with compliance with SDA. It may be monitored, controlled by government departments that do not have education or training as the key priority. As I've said, we have 21 cities in South Africa. So what that means, it means it might happen the people that are working in the cities that are monitoring this program do not have interest at heart for monitoring this project. Many courses offered by companies may not have unit standards that relate to the course content. Skills program may not always address the training needs of the employees. So what do we mean? The employee that works on the car manufacturer, the training that he or she needs is to how to manufacture the cars. If it happens the trainee is trained on some administration task, that is not addressing the issue of the employee or the need of the employee. Because the need of the employee is to know or to be trained on how to properly do the course. Many service providers that offer training services are not SAQA accredited. So the training provider or people that are providing training for the business need to be SAQA accredited so that the employees can use that qualification in future, either for future employment or for even to go out and open the business. So the risk is that the training officers or the training service that the employer receive or business receive is not registered with SAQA. Many business may not support this government initiatives. So some business, because this is very costly and has a lot of paperwork, might not support. Implementation of SDA can be difficult to monitor and control because it's a lot of admin. Employees are expected to attend learnership during work hours. So what happens now, it means that there's a loss in terms of productivity because people have to attend trainings when they should be working. Costly for business to employ a person to implement, manage, control learnership. As I've already stated from the top, that it costs a lot of money because now you need to get someone that will monitor and facilitate the program. Time and money spent on improving employee skill is wasted if they leave the business. So imagine now the business have trained this employee and the employee decide to leave just after a few days. Just after a few months of receiving qualification and the training. Now the business has lost. Only companies with staff payroll of over 500,000 per annum can claim SDL. So that discourages the employees who pays the salary that is less than 500,000. So it is a disadvantage for business because if they are paying less than 500,000, they're not going to be able to claim. Now let's just move to the last point before we move to conclusion. The last point was saying, what are the ways the business can comply with the Skills Development Act? Here are the ways. Business employers who collect PAYE should register with the relevant SETA. So as soon as you are paying PAYE, that means you are paying for you have payroll. You need to register for the relevant SETA. 1% of the employer's payroll must be paid over to the SETA through SARS. As I've already discussed in the above, 1% comes from the employer, 1% comes from the employee, if the employee is in the training. Business should register with SARS in the area in which their business is classified. As this is paid through SARS, the registration should also be done through SARS. Employers should submit a workplace skills plan and provide evidence that was implemented. Business with more than 50 employees must appoint a skill development facilitator. So if you have more than 50 employees, you need to have a facilitator. Because now this number is considered to be so big that if the training has to be done, it has to be monitored by someone that has a skill in training the employees of that sector. Assess the skills of employees to determine areas in which skills development is needed. Encourage employees to participate in learnership and other training programs. You'll find that there are learnership that are in the organization, but none of the employees are interested to be part of those learnership programs. They are saying they are busy, they don't have time for a number of reasons. So you need to encourage the employees to ensure that they form part of those programs. Provide all employees with the opportunity to improve their skills. So everyone should have an opportunity. Not only selected candidates should be provided an opportunity, but everyone should have an opportunity to participate in the program of being trained. Display a summary of SDA in the business where it is visible to all employees. So all employees should understand that the business is compiling with SDA and should understand what is SDA, and there should be summary in terms of what SDA is. Now let us wrap up. In the conclusion, you just need to drop 2 points or even one. So when you're summarizing what you spoke about in the body, business should register with CITES for training program, and those trainers should be registered with SACCA or accredited. SDA makes provision for establishment and effective function of CITES. The Skills Development Act plays an important role in ensuring that the South African workforce is well skilled and encourage employees for lifelong learnership or learning. Businesses are encouraged to comply with the Act. So you can state any of what we have here. Just 1 or 2 points, then you're summarizing what you've already said. Don't repeat what you've already said, but just summarize. Let's take us to the end of question 5, which was an essay that was based on legislation. And the legislation that was selected, it is Skill Development Act. Thank you so much for listening up until this far. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's Economics 199, and then also subscribe or follow me on my TikTok, it's also Economics 199. All the best for your upcoming test as well as the main exam. Enjoy the rest and goodbye.